It's a method. It is a method. Hold on. Let me just go to my channel.
We are live.
It's a beautiful thing. Ah, hold on. Sign in. Let me just sign in. It's a method. It's a method. Oh my gosh. Right, let me quit Safari. Just go to my channel. Right. I think I've got one now. Hello, everybody that's watching. If you're tuning in early, I'm just doing my setup bit because you know how it goes. You know how it goes. Hold on, let me just share this link. And I'm going to introduce everyone in a minute. Look at these gorgeous bevy of beauties I have with me today. A bevy of beauties. Hold on, let's have a look. Let me just write. Okay, hypnobirthing. I did share the link. Oh, just chat amongst yourselves. Don't worry about me. Right,
there's always the technical stuff. It's beyond me. I couldn't do it. So we leave it to you, Danielle.
I do try. I'm very trying, I've been told.
Oh, we've got another visitor there. Hello.
Oh. Right, I will mute myself so I don't interrupt anything.
Yeah, come and join us. Okay, I'm going to just share there. Okay, and I'm also going to share it on my Now Coach page just in case. So I've got that on there. Hypnobirthing. 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 Is it like, it is one word, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Continue. Publish. Right, I think we're good. I think we're good to go. Posted. We are live. Right. Well, good morning, you absolute beauties. Anyone that's watching, hello. We are doing a very special therapy talks today because it's Friday and I love our therapy talks. I flipping miss them every week if I don't do them. But today we have some people very special, not only my usual beauties that I'm surrounded by, but we also have Jessica Willerton and Jen Cross with us, who are hypnobirthing specialists, and they do that as a job. And hypnobirthing is, well, it's a magic process, as we all know. Giving birth in itself is a magic process, right? And to be able to actually do that in a relaxed and calm and confident and happy way is quite a feat. So I'm going to introduce you both in a second, but all I'll say is when I gave birth, we're going to go deep Friday morning. I was on gas and air in a hospital. I was petrified going up to the birth itself, and on my way through my pregnancy, oh God, it was just the most terrifying process, apart from the fact that me and myself and my partner, it wasn't a good relationship anyway. So not only did I have a lack of that, I also didn't know what to expect. And I was so scared because all I heard was terrible things and pain and pain and pain. And so internally I was going through pain, externally I was going through pain. And there were so many things that I was experiencing, which was extremely painful, down to the fact that I tried to get cesarean on the private about, 2 weeks before the birth. And I ended up giving birth to my son naturally 7 weeks before, because he just didn't want to come out by cesarean. So my waters broke early. And he came out on his own wishes. So that was quite interesting. But when I gave birth, I was on gas and air. They took the gas and air away and they said that I wasn't in labour in the hospital because their machinery had broke. So I was in absolute agony and pain, saying, well, if this isn't birth, then I'm dying, literally. They gave me paracetamol and they said, oh, you're going to need the gas and air later on. And it's only when I said, I need the loo, that they kind of looked and they were like, he's coming out. So, I pretty much gave birth on paracetamol, but it wasn't a pleasant experience. So on top of all of that, now I'm going to introduce you beauties. So Jessica, can you tell me a little bit about yourself and how that would have made you? I could have done with you guys.
Yeah. Hi. So I am a hypnobirthing practitioner and I teach the mindful mama method, which is a originally a book called Mindful Hypnobirthing, based on written by Sophie Fletcher. And I trained with her, and I decided to be a hypnobirthing practitioner after I did it for my own birth. And I got really obsessed with it, really excited about it. And I could see how much of an impact it had, and just decided I didn't want to do training in what I was doing. I was doing IT system training. Didn't want to do that. I wanted to do this instead. So I went and trained with Sophie in Surrey when my daughter was 8 months old, and then last year started practicing in January, and I've been practicing since then. And it was one-to-one kind of sessions that I did in here in my front room, and then since the whole world has gone into this pandemic and the lockdowns and stuff, it's all gone via Zoom. So still managing to do them, but just via Zoom. But yeah, with your story, you definitely need it, because there's lots of things there that come up. And
traumatic, to say the least, but it's all right now. Do you know what? I only remember the good parts. I only remember now the magic of giving birth. And you know, when I see TV programs, you know, One Born Every Minute and stuff, all those memories come flooding back, you know, the beautiful memories of afterwards. And I'm pretty much up and out, you know, and just running away, because I'm like, it's like almost like a headless chicken. You cut off the head and they're still running around because they don't know what to do. So they're just carrying on, you know. So, yeah, I do get those beautiful moments when I watch that, which I'm forever grateful for. But my God, what a journey it was to get there. Yeah. So now we are going to go to the beautiful Jen Cross. Look at you, shining star. Hello, gorgeous girl. And can you tell me a little bit about you, please?
Yes. So I was absolutely petrified when I became pregnant with my son 7 years ago. So I thought, I need to just be surrounded by positive stories right now. So I Googled positive birth stories, and it just came up with video after video, loads of information, and it soon turned out they were all hypnobirthing. And what really stood out to me was how individual it was, in that there wasn't loads of people surrounding them. It wasn't hands-on. They were just mum birthing their bub. And it just immediately changed the dynamic from you're a patient to actually you're a birthing mum. If everything's going straight forward, you know, we don't need all this hands-on kind of approach. And I heard this great a quote from another hypnobirther who I love, and she said, you know, think of it like going swimming. You want the lifeguards to be there, but if everything's going absolutely fine swimmingly, you don't expect them to just jump in. So I got myself and my husband on a course, and I went from being absolutely petrified to so excited. I never thought that would happen. So yeah, we birthed my son, and it was absolutely incredible. I then went on to train in NLP, hypnotherapy and life coaching later on, because I had always had a lot of anxiety from as young as I can remember. Funnily enough, I didn't get it hugely when I was pregnant. And I think that's because I was doing the hypnobirthing. And again, they're so linked, NLP and hypnobirthing. So anyway, I did my training in NLP, hypnotherapy and life coaching, and then thought, right, I need to now specialize in hypnobirthing because I loved it. Yeah. And now I predominantly work with mums who have a phobia of birth, who are really nervous about birth, or who have had a previous traumatic birth. That's the predominant people that I work with. And I'm 35 weeks pregnant myself. So it's all exciting. And I'm equally as excited about this birth as I was last birth, even though I've had a lot more challenges with this birth. So that will be interesting, but it's great to see how hypnobirthing isn't just breathing, being excited, being relaxed. It's actually this whole other side of hypnobirthing where it's knowing your choices and how to navigate the maternity system, which has been way more paramount this birth than it was last birth. So, yeah.
Absolutely amazing. Well, Lovely to meet you too. And we've also got obviously the incredible Kate Riley, who's an amazing mind coach. And I just say she's magic anyway. She has helped me on a million occasions. Like, it's funny how you can help everybody else, but when it comes to yourself, you find it that challenge. So Kate is, she's just helped me more than she knows always. And my Anna Boswell, who's an incredible therapist as well, NLP practitioner, master practitioner, flipping everything. Look who I'm surrounded by. I'm the luckiest girl in the world, I swear. So now we're all introduced. I'm just going to throw it out there because Kate, talk about, actually, no, let's go to Anna first, because Anna, it's thanks to you that this is together, because Anna's friends with Jessica, and also contacted Jen and got this whole group together. So I'm grateful to you, Anna, for this, because I'm learning as well. I mean, I am a clinical hypnotherapist as well, and I learned about hypnobirthing during my, clinical hypnosis. Help me out with the words. Yeah, I learned about it when I did my training. There's the word there. But I'm not a practicing clinic. Well, you know what I'm saying. I'm not a practicing hypnobirthing therapist. Yeah. So, Anna, talk to me.
Yeah, I'm just fascinated really with the work that Jessica and Jen both do. And one of the things I wanted to find out a bit more about is we talk a lot in the NLP world, and especially like during lockdown, about we kind of focus on the things that we know we can't change. We accept the things we can't change, and we focus on what we can. And the reason for doing that is because we know that if things can happen externally all the time that we're not in control of, and there's nothing we can do about that. What we can do is take control of how we respond to things, how we breathe, how we think, etc. And I was kind of interested because I'm not a mum. I still hope to be one day, but all the stories I do hear terrify the living daylights out of me, I won't lie. And so what I was really interested to understand more about is obviously people have birthing plans, and it's all great if all things, birthing plan goes accordingly and all the rest of it. But as we know, things don't always go to plan. And I was kind of wondering, so in the NLP world, we talk about, you kind of accept what you can't change and focus on what you can. And I guess that hypnobirthing will also support greatly with that. And just wondered initially what some of your thoughts might be on that. So if you've got a birthing plan, but it doesn't go to plan, how does hypnobirthing actually help with that?
Is it okay to answer this?
Yeah, please do. Just chat between us, so don't worry about me speaking.
In the sessions that I do and in the course, exactly the same sort of thing you're saying, like every birth journey is always different. No birth is ever the same. Like you can have similar things happen during the journey, but nothing is ever the same. Like anything can kind of happen, and a lot of the time, if you are in control and you're making your own decisions and you've got knowledge and you're feeling not fearful, you can have kind of a straightforward birth that you would think, but things can come up. Our babies, from the moment you are pregnant, your babies test you and teach you over and over again, and the birth process is like a massive lesson. But what I teach is that you can have birth preferences. So if you call them preferences to what you would prefer to have, and then if anything does come up that's kind of against your preferences or your plan, then it's about changing that course of direction, but you making those decisions from a place of knowledge and not from a place of fear. Because a lot of the time people are just terrified and scared, and they don't have the knowledge, they don't have the understanding, and they make any sort of decisions that come up that are presented to them out of fear, and then they look back and that's where regrets happen and where things aren't personable to them. So what we kind of do is break down kind of your A, B, C birth. So like your A birth would be the birth that you really want. So it might be a water birth, or it might be you might want to be induced, you might want to have a cesarean. So whatever your choice of birth is would be the ideal situation. And then we look at kind of an in-between birth. So it might be that you want to have a water birth, so you have all your preferences for water birth, and then your B birth would be that you have to be induced, or you have to have some sort of intervention, instruments used, things like that. And then the C birth would be the more emergency situation, perhaps like a cesarean. So rather than doing a birth plan and thinking, this is what I want, this is what I'm sticking to, like you said, it's more about accepting what you can't change. So if things do come up, you can't change them, but you can choose how you wish to approach them. And that's what we really go through.
That's lovely. Yeah, thank you. That was beautifully answered. And what about you, Jen? What would you say?
I love a birth plan. It's one of my favourite sessions. Birth plan, birth preferences. It depends on what my clients prefer to call it, because language is very individual. So yeah, the reason I love it is because hypnobirthing is not the destination. It's not the destination. It's not the end result. It's the journey. So it's tools and techniques and knowledge to make that road trip really smooth. Yeah. So when people say they feel let down by hypnobirthing, or they didn't get their hypnobirthing birth, it's because it hasn't, in my opinion, been coached in the right way. Yeah. Anybody can hypnobirth through any type of birth, because it is your approach, it is your mindset. So when it comes to the birth plan, this is because you are going to be birthing potentially with people who do not know anything about you. So it's a quick, this is about me, this is about our birth journey so far, this is what we're, envisaging and thinking of, and think about certain things. And it's a great checklist for the birthing person and their birthing partner as well to think about. So, do they want their baby to have vitamin K? Do they want delayed cord clamping? Have they got an opinion on pain relief options? So it is a huge checklist for actually the parents, or the parent and the birth partner, to go through to see what their views are on these things. Because if they're presented when you are in labour, the chances are you're not going to be 100% on it about thinking about your choices per se, because you're going to be in the labour process as well. So if you've done all that prep beforehand, then it's done. Yeah. And exactly as Jess said, what did Jess say? 35 weeks pregnant, coming up with different, birth journeys. So, okay, if we have a natural vaginal straightforward birth, what would my preferences be for that? If we're going into a cesarean, what would my preferences be for that? And of course, nothing can be guaranteed, but if you pop it down, then hopefully, a lot of it can be accommodated. So yeah, I personally love them.
I love that. And also visualization is so key in life in general. So if you can try and visualize the smoothest and become the flow, not fight the flow, then everything will just become a little bit smoother, and you can just accept and bring that into your world and be that flow. So I just want to go to Kate now, because Kate, you little beauty, you gorgeous angel of mine. Let me hear you do some speaking, please.
Well, I think because we all come from kind of like a background of sort of NLP, hypnotherapy and stuff. So I was just interested in how it looks like if I was a young mother now with a baby on the way, and what does it look like, hypnobirthing? How many sessions do they have? What's the structure? This is my left brain talking. I want to see the structure. I want to see how it works. Just so what would someone get from working with you guys?
Do you know what? There are so many different approaches to hypnobirthing. Would you agree with that, Jess?
Yeah, I was going to say the same.
Yeah.
What's your preferred way? If your ideal way of doing something, how would you want to work? I mean, I know everyone's different, and you would adopt your approach based on the client that you have. But kind of like, there must be like a kind of a structure. How many sessions normally would you work with somebody, and what's the process?
So my personal approach is very, very one-to-one. So I will always do a taster with somebody, whether they, are dead set on booking or not, just so that I can find out all of their background, what they want from hypnobirthing, because that's very individual as well. Everybody wants something different from hypnobirthing. They want something different from this experience. So we do a taster. I then do 4 core hypnobirthing sessions, and then I do a 5th one, which is all based on holistic infant sleep and how your baby, the biology of your baby sleep, because that's a whole other subject, which is hugely helpful. We will then do a recheck-in at 38 weeks, where we will do a delivery hypnosis. We'll chat about how you're feeling about the upcoming birth. And then I will check in when the baby's there, when the baby's arrived as well, to talk about, you know, or if they want to talk about how their birth went, because that's important for a lot of people to be able to talk about that. So that's my own personal approach with it.
Lovely. And what about you, Jess?
Yeah, so like Jen said, there's loads of different types of approaches and ways that it's run. The particular course that I do is what was written by Sophie Fletcher, who wrote the book, and the course is roughly about 7 hours. Now it normally goes over for me because I, like Jen said, I like it one-on-one. We can do group sessions with them, but I don't mind them, but I prefer to be more personable and one-on-one with the couple, so that we can go through their story in more in depth, and their own fears might be different to another couple's fears as well. So really breaking down those things with them. I currently, because it's via Zoom, the best way I've found it is to break it into 3 sessions. And throughout these, we look at mostly like knowledge about the physiology of birth, and do kind of small hypnobirthing techniques in the sessions. But most of the actual hypnobirthing, like we explain what it does and how it works and letting go of fear, but most of the actual hypnobirthing work or practice is based on the tracks that they listen to after the sessions or during and beyond until they go into birth, and they're provided by Mindful Mama. So she has like a whole playlist of different types of tracks depending on what the mother needs, because sometimes they might need just to relax and be more mindful, and then sometimes they might need to really let go of some fear, or sometimes they might be nervous that they're coming up to 40 weeks, you know, that kind of 40 weeks thing that gets built into us. So there's different tracks depending on what they need, and it's about them kind of going away and doing that practice and what they like.
That's lovely.
I'd love to just mention something, Jess, if that's you just talked about this 40-week thing that gets put in your mind. And funnily enough, this morning I saw that Jen had put a fantastic post about obviously you're kind of coming up to your due date, but you said, well, actually my due date is anything between 37 and 42 weeks. And it was, and again, it kind of comes back to that. There's things you control and there's things that you can't control, and one of the things you can't control is actually when your due date is going to be. And I think you were saying a lot of people get fixated on this due date and on this 40-week thing, but actually if you say it could be anything from 37 to 42 weeks, and I'm comfortable and relaxed with that. And that's something that Jen had said this morning, which I thought was lovely.
I think the sad thing about that is that it's not talked about by midwives. So you, or the medical profession, well, not all of them anyway. I'm sure some of them do, but you're told your due date, but you're not told anything around your due date. And induction is a huge topic as well. And quite often you're offered an induction around 40 weeks. So instantly people panic that must really back up the fact that babies need to come at 40 weeks. And there's so much anxiety around that.
Actually, do you know, the good thing as well is that I remember that there was no one really to speak to when I was pregnant as well. Just like no one I could actually trust, or if I was speaking to people, it's always, you know, the worst case scenario, or, you know, and it puts the fear of God into you. And we are, as human beings, we're suggestive, you know, and adverts are hypnosis, and we're in hypnosis every single day. So if you've got someone that's there, that's with you, that can guide you through the process, that's been there a million times before, and can just calm those nerves, and just that they know what you're going through, they understand that, and so they can suggest things that will make you feel better, rather than suggesting all the suggestions out there in the whole world that are just putting you on edge. You know, it is a state of mind. It is a choice of how it's looked at. And our minds are so incredibly powerful that we will believe what we want to believe. So to have that luxury, it is a luxury of having someone, an affordable luxury, I'd say, but it is a luxury of having someone there that can hold your hand basically and be a friend, and a friend that knows what you're going through, and that's there to talk to if you need them, and just to put your mind at ease and to see things from perspective, because that perspective is that power that we all have that would just make everything look a little bit different and make you feel better. So yeah, I think that's just brilliant. So,
and how about not just, because it's not just for mums, is it? How does hypnobirthing help maybe dads, babies, birthing partners? Does it expand out to all of those areas, or is it just for mum?
I was going to ask about that, about the baby side of it, because I'm not a mother, but I was a baby, and so the biggest thing that I found when I did my NLP and hypnotherapy training was because we work on each other, don't we? So we all have these kind of mini sessions all throughout the training. And one of the most powerful things I had was actually going back to my birth. And then I went back even into the womb as well. And I cleared out a lot of anxiety that was for me actually being in the womb. And then my birth also was, for me emotionally, it was a very horrible experience because I was adopted. So I was taken away from my mother at birth. So I felt like, to me, being born was almost like dying. For me, I was being taken away. And there was a lot of emotion around there that needed to be released. And so even though consciously we don't remember much beyond sort of 5 years back, but subconsciously it's all there, isn't it? So the baby all the way through from conception onwards, and let's face it, even before that, because we know our grandmother, when she had your mother as an embryo had the egg that was going to become you inside your grandmother. So you've got all of your grandmother's trauma and anxiety and any sort of things that were going on with her and her DNA all coming through you, and that is that aspect of it. And I think that the work you do, guys, must be absolutely amazing for the kids as well, and how the experience they have, not just throughout the pregnancy, because all this anxiety that mothers have about their upcoming birthing must be really affecting the child, and how their relationship with the neurotransmitters in their brains and their bodies and everything, and how that affects it. So I think it's just fabulous, and I don't see why this shouldn't be something like standard for everybody.
It should, right?
Definitely. I learned about, when I did doula training last year, we learned about the epigenetics and all of the impact of everyone's own birth story and the impact it has on you in your life. And one of the first things I always ask with couples, and a lot of the time I do kind of talk to the men as well, like you're saying, the birth stories, the birthing partners, sorry Anna, is about their birth story and how do they know how they were born. And sometimes a lot of the anxieties that they can hold, or the fears that they hold, are from their own births, and that's where really the trauma that they can hold on to there can really impact their birth. So if you can break it down and let them see it in a different way, then they can kind of let go of that a little bit and see that their birth, their own birth story with the birth of their child will be different. But with birth partners, just to go back to your question, Anna, the birth partners is like my favorite part of it, really, all of it, because you really see like light bulb moments. They're like, whoa, really? Yeah, when you go through things and explain it to them, they're like, okay, so now I know what I need to do, and now I know the role that I have. And it's not always dads. Sometimes, you know, it can be family members or friends, or you know, partners as well. But there's always they always kind of leave feeling empowered and ready to take on this like role of helping the birth be the best possible thing. And the babies definitely impact from it, you know, having the relaxation and listening to the tracks and letting your mind and body really relax all the way through pregnancy, and then approaching the birth, no matter what comes up, in a really good mindset, sends all of those kind of good oxytocin, serotonin, everything to the baby, and they a lot of the time come out as little hypno babies, and they're all chilled and relaxed, and my daughter was one of them, definitely.
That's so nice. What about Jen? What do you say?
I think as well, I think I just had another brain block. I had this great answer planned out. I'll go to the birth partner, and then I'll go to, was it the birth partner I was going to start with?
I get those blocks all the time, babe. It's fine. Go with them. We can come back if you want.
The great thing, so with the birth partner, it's so important as well to understand what they need as well, because there's sort of, two people in the birthing process, if you like, and it's not about us reading a list of what the birth partner can do to help. Yes, of course, that, we do that, but it's actually finding out how the birthing person and their birth partner, the dynamic between them and how they work. So I had a situation where, just one of my clients, and the dad would pace if he got anxious. And mum knew this, and she said, you cannot pace during labour because I will instantly pick up on it. So we gave him something else that he could do instead of pacing, to manage his own anxiety through it, but also to talk about what are their particular anxieties or their feelings about it. Really, really important. And in terms of the benefits for bub, completely agree with what Jess said. And I think what's lovely is if quite often the birth partner reads the scripts to mum as well. I've had so many of my clients say that when dad comes through the door, they start speaking, and instantly the baby starts kicking because they suddenly become familiar with the sound of the birth partner's voice. So it can be a great bonding for the birth partner as well. So I have something else to say on it. It might come back to me.
Just to shout out if you think of it, because I know I get moments like that time. I think, I've got to say that or write it down. That's what I do. I keep writing stuff down and thinking, I've got to remember that. Brain work happens generally for me, I'll tell you. Oh dear, yeah. So any other questions, Anna? Like, because obviously you're looking, should I be getting a hat? I think I might,
I love, do you know what? I did one of the first sessions I did as an NLP coach was working with a man who had Asperger's, and he told me that he'd experienced his whole life. He felt it felt like he experienced life looking through a CCTV camera. Like he wasn't there in the first person. He was watching the world through this camera from a safe place, and never really connected with people around him, and never really got close in relationships and things like that. And we did some timeline therapy, which is linking back to what Kate said. We did some timeline therapy, and I said, when did you first feel like this and all the rest of it? And we went right back to before his birth. And he also had a very traumatic birth. And we did some work around that, and he'd said, he remembers his mum had a traumatic birth and there was a lot of pain involved. I think he'd sort of felt kind of responsible for this somehow. And we did a lot of work. And at the end of this session, he basically said he wasn't looking through life through this camera anymore. He was in it, and all the colours were brighter and all the rest of it, which I just thought was incredible. But what amazes me is, it really makes me think that if, as hypnobirthers, you're not just helping mum, like Kate said, you're actually helping this baby to hopefully have a much more calm, but so it's not, the mum isn't focused on fear and fright and pain and all the rest of it, although of course there will all be elements of that. But if you're able to help mum to feel calm and in control, then baby's going to feel much more calm and much less likely to have, that trauma potentially. But I know, Jen, you also do work with mums that have had previous traumatic births, haven't you? Is there anything you can tell us about that? And maybe there are women watching who they themselves have previously had a traumatic birth. is there anything that, you know, any advice or tips or anything that you can give to them to say how it might be different next time? That was a really big question, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, all births are different, you know, that's one huge thing to go by. And it's finding the right approach for you as well, because there's different stages of trauma and, you know, different stages that you're ready to talk about it, you don't, maybe stages where you can't talk about it and things. So it's definitely finding an approach that you feel comfortable with and resonates with you. So yeah, with the mums that I've worked with, I've definitely done the NLP route for the birth trauma with that. And it's just left them feeling so in such a good space and calm about their previous birth, and then ready to go on to potentially, if they have another baby. I'm working with a mum at the moment, and she came to me because they wanted to conceive their second, but she had a really difficult first birth. So we did some techniques around that, and not just the birth, but how she felt about herself. And again, that kind of went back along. And yeah, we're now at a place where she has conceived. She's waiting for baby number 2 and feels in such a different place. So yeah, and interestingly with birth trauma, it's not necessarily the type of birth that you have. It's how you felt about that birth. It's how you felt by, you know, the choices that were offered or not, how you were spoken to. Was there respect there? Did you feel that you had dignity throughout the process? So yeah, it's not just talking about the physical birth per se, it's about the whole picture of it, if that makes sense.
Can I add on to that as well? Because I've had women that have come, or parents, couples that have come to me, and their main thing is because the reason they choose to do this now is because they've had traumatic births, and that's where they've come to me from. And like what Jen said, it's about, rather than the birth itself, it's their lack of kind of knowledge or being able to make choices, or just being scared. They were, you know, scared. And a lot of the time when you talk through their reasons for their fear, or talk through their birth story that they had before and what happened with their first child, they you can kind of direct them in saying, well, you know, the reason that might have happened is because you didn't know about this, or, you know, you would have a different approach now because you understand why that might have happened. And a lot of the time when we finish the course, at the end, they're like, I can see now why it was so traumatic. It's because I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know how I was going to respond to certain situations. And when they suggested this intervention or, you know, way to go, I made that decision and said yes, completely based on fear. And I was terrified. So that's why I did it. And you know, then they leave thinking, well, this one can be completely different. We can approach it in a different way because we've got the knowledge. We now feel empowered, and it doesn't need to be that way. It didn't need to be that way in the first place. And, you know, sometimes they kind of kick themselves and think, oh, you know, I wish I just knew this before. I've heard that so many times. I wish I just knew that for my first birth. But then it leaves them even more excited and more empowered, because then I'm like, well, I can, you know, a lot of the time second and third birth or subsequent birth can heal the first trauma that you had in the first one.
I think as well, it's knowing where you want to get to, not just talking about the birth that happened, because we all know that we can talk about something till the sun comes down, but actually what we really want is a resolution to something. Yeah, so it's about, okay, you're here, where do you want to get to, where do you want to envisage yourself? And that's I think a really positive thing.
I think it's very interesting as well, because hypnobirthing, what we're going through at the moment with the current pandemic and with just life in general, it is almost like a new birth. It's a new birth of our lives, how we see ourselves, who we are, what we want to do. It's a blank page, a fresh start. And it's almost like to get through the anxieties or any fears. It's, you know, focusing on breathing and visualization is huge of what you can see yourself, and all the things that NLP attracts and brings to you, all the techniques, and it's the confidence. And it's almost like a hypnobirthing could be applied to now, to life, because we are all, you know, at that place of being reborn. And, you know, it is the same techniques of and turning into yourself, you know, how you can feel about the situation, how you can cope with whatever you're going through, whether it be the birth or whether it be a new life or a new start, or, you know, a challenge that you're facing at the moment. And, you know, breathing is a massively powerful thing. I mean, I'm sure you can talk. So when you breathe in hypnobirthing, is it the same kind of the now state, I call it, where you get in the present? Do you stay very present? How would you breathe in a oh, I know how I breathe.
Don't do that.
No. Actually, funnily enough, that was the panic. But when you're actually just going to give birth, it does calm itself down. Your body knows what to do, doesn't it? And it's the panic that you don't know beforehand that puts you on that panting kind of thing. Once your body kicks in, if you're trained and you know what to do in advance, you don't have to go through the panic. And I think that's what's so powerful about what you guys do as well, because, you know, just knowing that you can feel like that calm, relaxed, deep breathing, you know, all the way through, and you don't have to go through the panic thing. That's magic right there. That's powerful. So if you could talk through how you would, maybe Jen, how you would talk someone through breathing, and then I'll do Jess as well. That'd be lovely.
I mean, there's different breathing techniques for the different parts of labor and birth. So you have breathing for when you're not in a contraction, you have a breath for when you're in contraction, you have a breath for when you're nudging baby out, breathing baby out, pushing baby out, however you want to say it. So yeah, there's different breathing techniques for different stages. And the great thing is it takes out the guesswork. So instead of going, oh my gosh, I'm getting a contraction, I don't know what to do, I don't know where to go,
yes.
Oh my God, it's awful, you just kick into this breathing cycle. And, you know, when you're having a contraction, it varies slightly how many breaths you do from person to person and how long it is. And also whether you visualize when you're doing a breath or whether you're actually more of the black and white approach and you use numbers and counting. It depends on your personality. But one of my favorite breaths in hypnobirthing is called the golden thread breath, and it's known as the antidote to pain. And you open your lips the tiniest amount. So you take in this long, deep breath, blow up your tummy like a big balloon, and then you just release, just going.
That's very good.
So calming, known as the antidote to pain. And it's the most amazing breath. You can do it into an affirmation. You can do it down to your baby. You can do it out the window. You can literally just do the technique of it, and that's all you're thinking about. It's whatever works for mum. And when we do a longer out breath as well, which is definitely for your relaxed breath in between contractions, and when you're doing a contraction, you activate the parasympathetic nervous system as well. So hypnobirthing is incredibly logical. There is a reason why we do everything. It's not just because it's pretty and lovely and the idea of it is lovely. There's science behind it. So yeah, that's how I coach it.
Breath is life. Breath is life. If you don't have breath, you are not alive. So that's so yeah. Jess, how would you go through a breathing with someone?
Pretty similar to what Jen said, really. You know, there's all different types of breathing, and as she mentioned, at the different stages you can use different techniques. And what I always say at the beginning of my sessions when I'm starting with a couple is that with the hypnobirthing, like, the work is done at a deep level. So when you actually go into your birth, like you said, it's instinctual. You've got the ability to do it. It's about shutting down the neocortex and letting your instinctual part of your brain take over. So the breathing should kind of come naturally rather than being coached to breathe a certain way or letting the fear come in so that you get kind of panic and tense and that sort of breath. And then we teach the perfect one that Jen just mentioned with the golden thread. We teach teach those sort of techniques and those sort of breathing techniques, really simple ones, and so that they've got a kind of invisible toolkit, so that if at any stage during the labor, like you said, you kind of get out of that birthing zone and you start to panic or you start to fear, you can use those, you can pull on those tools and techniques in your bag, which might be like the breath that Jen did, and that can instantly just calm you down and put you back into your birthing zone. And so you can then you know, let your body do what it needs to do, rather than getting panicked and feared and letting it all take over. That's kind of the main thing. I always say it, like, you're not going to have to think, right, now I'm in this stage, I've got to do this, or now I'm in this stage, I've got to do that. It's just about letting what you need to do, but having these extra things there if you need them, just in case you start to get panicking.
It's funny because, oh sorry, I was going to say, it's funny when I train people just in general, like with anxiety or like exam confidence, or, you know, stage nerves or whatever it may be, and they get that anxiety, your breathing goes out, and to get your body and to feel calm again, you just need to just regain control of that breathing. So what I always say to someone, it's a very quick way of doing it, is you hold your breath with the biggest, deepest breath as long as you possibly can, till you can't hold it anymore, and then you very slowly let it out, just very, very slowly. So your diaphragm's controlling that breath out, even until you can't get any more air out. And what that does is it just resets your breathing and resets your body. And you feel this wave of calm just coming straight over you. And it's so incredibly powerful. So it can be worked in so many different areas as well.
There's a really great one that we use in the course, that kind of, it's the mindful mama breathing technique, which is, it's simple as 3, 2, 1. So breathe in for 3, 2, 1.
Through your mouth or your nose?
Through your mouth. So, through your nose. Sorry, through your nose. So breathing in 3, 2, 1, and then you breathe out. Relax, 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 and you just keep doing that until you feel relaxed. And if it's on a lot of the tracks that they listen to, the hypno birthing tracks, and personally now, I did it so much during my pregnancy, because I actually when we were talking about the weeks, going up to 40 weeks, I went to 42 plus 5 until I went into labour, and hypnobirthing was everything for me during that time, like everything. It was, that's how it was, how I got through it. And the breathing, the 3, 2, 1, relax, relax, it's so quick and so simple, but if you keep doing it and keep practicing it, even now, my partner will go, Jess, 3, 2, 1, relax, 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 and it just calms me down straight away. Like straight away. It doesn't matter what the situation is, but it's really good for like new mums as well. You know, when you've got the baby and they're crying or they won't sleep and you're really tired, just you can get panicky if you're trying to feed them or put them to sleep, and just breathing can calm you down, and then it calms the baby down as well. So little techniques that you learn during the hypnobirthing can help you later on and beyond.
And it becomes like an anchor as well, so you're anchoring that calmness to the breath, and anchoring, that's what I learned in my clinical hypnotherapy, is, you know, you can set off powerful anchors. And Kate, you know all about anchors, you're always brilliant at anchors with the
and I was also interested in the whole thing, because Jess talked about empowerment. I mean, this is what you're giving women, isn't it, is empowerment. And also empowerment to the partner as well, because they probably most of the time feel completely useless and they can't do anything, and so giving them power to be part of the whole process. And also the whole thing of because we know when somebody's pregnant is that all their senses are heightened, so they're more alert to danger, more alert to any cues from anyone around them. So the more the partner is relaxed, the more they're going to be relaxed as well, because otherwise they're just going to be triggered by anything really easily, aren't they? So, and we know that things like the sense of smell gets heightened during pregnancy, and so the mother will smell the pheromones that's been given off by somebody else, and so we're constantly sort of scanning for danger, because you can't run away when you're sort of 9 months pregnant. You know, you've got to be in a safe place, and so it's all about calming that anxiety, being able to do that, and the people around you making sure they can do it too. So training everyone around you to do the same thing is very important. And as you say, it's a great tool for the future for them and to teach the children and everything. It just seems to me like it's a great life skill that you're teaching people and families, that you're the next generation and beyond. You're kind of like breaking the I don't know what I
know what you mean.
But it's like there's a chain going through the generations that's a trauma, stress, right? Birth and everything else. And then you breaking that and going forward, it's just this beautiful, meaningful experience that, yes, there is going to be pain involved. It's got to be, but it can still be a beautiful experience, and bringing that meaning. And I think talking about the meaning of it, I think that's very important as well we were talking about just before we came live about how meaningful this makes it all. It's like a thing that people can look back upon and really, really enjoy the whole memory of it, instead of saying, yeah, it was absolutely traumatic, but I got through it, thank God, and now I'm pregnant again, and like just expecting the same thing. And you give that to people, you give that meaning.
Lovely.
And I just wondered if you have any really good stories that you could share, because I love to hear.
Yeah, so do I.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say on that, I think if partners knew how paramount they were in this process, quite often how baby is created needs the same things as how baby is birthed. So quite often when we think about environment, we say, well, if you could sleep in it, if you could make love in it, you could birth in it. Because actually the hormone that we get when we make love, oxytocin, is the same hormone that powers our contractions. Yeah, so actually having the birth partner that you made baby with is so, so powerful.
Yeah. Do you know what though? When I gave birth, I didn't have my partner with me because there was a lot of problems with him, and I always had that pain of I had my mum with me, thank God, but it was a very traumatic time, my pregnancy, emotionally, and including the birth, because obviously, as I said, everything was just traumatic. And I didn't have him with me, and I didn't know who I was. I didn't know my own self-worth. And it took me, until I did my NLP course, to figure out so many things, and to realize that I was worth it, and that, that was their problems. And everything that I was taking on, the only things that we can control are our own thoughts, feelings and actions. So, and I did feel a lot of resentment. I felt a lot of resentment towards him, until I decided that was doing me no good, serving me no good, let it go, and forgive and accept.
I think when I work with mums who don't have a birth partner potentially in the picture, this is where the whole self-love comes in. And actually it's creating self-love with you, with your baby, that connection, the oxytocin between you and your baby. So it's reframing it. It's saying, okay, you may not have it in this relationship, but you can have it in this relationship.
Wow.
So that's how I approach that.
Everything that you've just said has just gone click with me, because I am completely into self-love. I mean, Kate and Annie, you know that, right? In fact, the course that I did, I've just done a course, which is the 30-day confidence challenge. It was originally going to be the 30-day self-love challenge, because I'm all about that. I'm all about self-love. And you're right, it probably does stem right back from then, because that totally makes sense. I didn't have that love. I didn't have that magic formula at that point, and I had to find it within me, and it took me years, and I just want everybody to know how wonderful and how worth it that they are, because everybody is magic and everybody's worth it. We're all enough. We don't need an external, and if you've got that, that's wonderful. But if you haven't got that, it doesn't mean you are not worth it, and it doesn't mean you're any less than anyone else. You are so capable. So, I'm very passionate about that. Can you tell?
Can I just ask, ladies, if it's okay? We've got a bit of time left. Yeah. I'm guessing there must be some very specific challenges at the minute for women in lockdown, going through a pandemic and what have you. And maybe, because there might be women watching that are maybe having some of those challenges now, what sort of things have come up, and what can people kind of do to handle those situations? Have you had many experience of that this year, particularly?
Jen, do you want to answer first, because you're pregnant yourself, aren't you?
I,
Your experience.
I've had completely mixed. I've had some mums who've absolutely loved the fact that their partner is home and that they have been able to limit the amount of visitors seeing the baby, and they've had a very, very chilled time in terms of life seemed to slow right down at some point. I think one of the biggest challenges mums have faced and are facing at the moment is that the birth partners are so limited with the appointments that they can go to. And it's when something goes wrong. I had a miscarriage last year, which was identified at my 12-week scan. So, you know, right back in the last lockdown, it's when mums didn't have a birthing partner and they're told that news, which is, it's huge, it's devastating. And it's if decisions have to be made as well. I know that quite often birth partners are in the car park or they can quickly get them, but it's still that time that you're on your own with people that you don't know. That is a huge thing. And of course, they're allowed to be with you if you're deemed to be in active labour, which is 4 centimetres roughly. But if they think that you're not that, then birth partners again have to wait outside. And some women are on a ward, again, maybe waiting for an induction that can last, you know, a few days, and they're on their own. So it's making sure that they have tools and techniques and people that they can reach out to throughout that process. But I think that's been the biggest challenge that I've identified with this.
How do you tell them to get through that? How do you help them? Because that is terrifying, to be actually on your own. Like, that's hard.
Well. So just one example, and this isn't if you've had difficult information and you've got to make a decision or whatever. This is for something different. So if my mums might be going for an induction, and it's something we always discuss because, you know, it could potentially be something that happens, I'd love to do a specific reframe, and I hope you'll all love it too. Okay, who loves going to a spa?
What we talked about earlier,
right? Okay. Go to your spa that you love and ask them for their playlist, because I can guarantee that when you walk into that spa and hear that spa music and smell that oil, you instantly go. So I say to my mums, I want you to imagine you're going on a spa day, okay? You're going to have your bed, you're going to have your lavender eye mask, you're going to be listening to this relaxing music. I want you to take all the lush treats in your bag. I want you to take that book that you want to read, you know, ask for a birthing ball so that you can keep active. Don't feel that you just have to lay on the bed the whole time. You're not a patient as such, you know, feel that you can just go in and think, I'm just going to have a good old chill. And this is the last few days or hours with my bub in me, which is, you don't realize, you know, for some people, they might not realize this, but it might be the last time they ever do it, you know, and just to have that time with you and your bub. So just completely reframe it and see it as something else. And especially if you've got little people at home as well, you know, how many times do we sometimes think, I just need a rest?
Yeah.
That's one of the techniques. I get the birth partners to do videos on their phone as well, so they can see those, get their friends to write little notes so that they can read them in hospital, all things like that. You know, it's, of course, it's going to take a bit for your mind to get round because we're tricking our mind, but it is something to focus on.
Lovely. Thank you so much. Brilliant.
Yeah. And one of the lady, not Jess, I'm so sorry.
Danielle. Anna, Kate.
So that's scent, yeah. So one of the things that I say is, at the moment with the pandemic, I'm not sure whether you can take your own pillow in, but take in your own pillowcase that smells of your own washing powder, so that you can place that on your pillow, so that you're surrounded by your own scents from home.
That's lovely. And Jess, have you got anything to add to that? Because we're down to the last few minutes. just flew again. But Jess, yeah.
Yeah, very similar to what Jen said. I worked with a couple just last week, was the end of their kind of sessions with me, and she may have to have an induction for various reasons. And so we were talking about what could make her, what are the, we're talking about anchors, like what are the negative anchors? So what sort of things would trigger the anxiety when she goes in, if she does have to sit and have an induction for a few days? So what would be the negative things? And it's all about the senses. So she went through like the smells, it being too hot, because that's what she experienced before. So then we turn them into positive anchors. So take a fan in, again with like the smells, like on the lavender, having anything lavender, and sounds, so like having your hypnobirthing tracks that you like, but also taking an iPad in that's got films, or like Friends, watch Friends, because that's like easy and distracting, something that, all of those things that can sort of change anything that might trigger a negative emotion and make it a positive thing. And she loved it. She was like, yeah. And I made her like these little bags to put in the bath with like herbs and tea, like salts and stuff. Amazing. And she said she's going to make some and take them with her and have a bath in there with the smells and everything. So like when you said the spa, Jen, that was exactly what, the same sort of thing. Just take time to enjoy it and look after yourself.
Oh, guys, I just want to say thank you all so flipping much. And it's funny you were saying about spa, because before, me and Kate were having a conversation, and we were talking about the soul spa, because we all go to the spa. This is before we even started. And it's like we're beginning and we're ending with this spa idea, because we go to the spa and we enjoy that. But do we ever have a soul spa? Let's look after ourselves. So, I mean, in my write-up, I'm going to put everybody's details. I hope everyone that's watching this has got as much value out of what I have out of this chat, because it has been amazing. It has actually been incredible. So thank you, ladies. And it's been so nice to meet you both as well. And
thank you for having us.
No, it's a pleasure. I'm not going to have another baby, but if I ever did, you'd be my first call.
Definitely, yeah.
And yes, everybody, it's been a pleasure. Everyone say bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And I'm going to sign off now. All the details for everyone will be in the write-up. Like, subscribe, share this far and wide. Anyone that you know that wants hypnobirthing ideas, techniques, anyone that's interested, or anyone that's just wants to have a bit more about what's happening now and how to deal with the now state. So just share this, and